Hey, Stacey David here with the Tales of a Gearhead podcast. Now, what is this? Well, it's a podcast that covers everything automotive, everything mechanical, everything that's just cool about the automotive lifestyle. And since that's just about everything, you're going to love it. Let's get rolling. All right, today's podcast, we have SLEEPERDUDE on here. Now, you may wonder who that is. That's like saying Batman. Who is Batman? Well, everybody knows that's Bruce Wayne. So who is SLEEPERDUDE? Well, that's Josh Dillon. And if you've never met Josh, you're about to. We're going to talk cars and things and SLEEPERDUDE. So, Josh, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me. It's an honor to be here after watching you, especially through high school and stuff, watching you on TV. Definitely had a big impact on stuff I like.
Sure. Well, that's awesome. So did you watch trucks a lot? Or
Trucks, and then Gears.
Yeah.
I grew up, watching, all the Power Block TV type shows, all those guys. Yeah, I loved watching that stuff, and I just always enjoyed any kind of car stuff, and that really kind of came out when I was a teenager. It really didn't seem to exist really much before that.
No, it didn't. It was kind of the first of it. Now, what kind of car did you drive in high school? Were you a truck guy or a car guy?
Car guy.
Okay.
I actually, for like 1 month, drove a 66 Bel Air 6-cylinder 3-speed on the column car.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, man. And bonus points for that.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
That's what I took my driving test in and got my license. But a month in, I wrecked it. It only had front drum brakes, only no rear drum brakes. We didn't know that at the time.
Okay.
So I slid 135 feet and went under a Ford F-150 and messed the car up really bad. It was my dad's car.
Oh, yeah.
So from then on, I drove a 80 Buick Park Avenue, black on black with no air conditioning.
Okay.
After that. Literally all four windows were broke, and I had it wedged with pieces of wood. That was the car I drove.
So listen, at that time, we all drove what we had.
Yeah.
Dad had a Toyota pickup that I drove. And you just make it as cool as you can. But what car did you want? When you were in high school, what did you want?
Well, my dad, when I was a kid, gave me a 4-door 63 Nova, which at the time was, not really worth anything at all.
Yeah.
They're bringing decent money now.
Yeah.
But that car was a 6-cylinder with a Power Glide.
Okay.
And I should have left it that way.
Yeah.
But what I did was me and my dad started taking auto body school when I was 13 at night.
Good.
And we blew it all apart. I mean, every nut, every bolt to do a full restoration on it. And it never happened during the time. I mean, we worked on it constantly, but it never got done before I got out of high school. So that car wasn't actually drivable till I was already out of high school.
Yeah.
But that was the one I really wanted. And I ended up actually driving the parts car. I bought a 64 4-door parts car.
Yeah.
It was a 6-cylinder with a 3-speed on the column, and I put it to the J.C. Whitney floor shifter, or whatever.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
And that's the car I ended up driving. And I paid $100 for that car, and that was right after high school. I never really got to drive a cool car to high school.
Yeah. Yeah, I was kind of the same way. It was right after high school. I had a Model A coupe that, I drove to high school when it was running, but...
Was it a hot rod or was it original driveline?
Oh, no. It was done up like the American Graffiti car.
Cool.
I painted it yellow. I had to have the graffiti car.
Yeah.
And I couldn't find
John
the 32.
Milner.
Oh, yeah. That was the car.
Mm-hmm.
And then driving it to school, I realized why that's not the car to have.
Right.
And I had bought an old hot rod that had been hacked on for 20 years by all the other guys.
Yeah.
And I thought it was funny when it came up for sale, all of the hot rod friends I had, we don't want that car. Mm-hmm. But I did.
Yeah.
And so I learned a lot what not to do to a car with that.
I met Paul Lamette once at the Street Rod Nationals in Knoxville. Yeah. He was there signing autographs, and a friend of ours had a clone of that car too, and he came down and signed the car, and I got to meet him there.
Yeah. Paul's a cool guy.
Yeah.
Cool. So, how did SLEEPERDUDE come around? Tell me all about that.
Okay, well, the channel originally was just a bunch of letters is all it was.
Okay.
It didn't make any sense, and nobody could ever remember it. So I don't know exactly what year. I think it was maybe 2019. See, this year is 17 years I've been doing YouTube.
Okay.
So I've only done it for a living for 2.5, but for 17 years I put out videos.
Yeah.
And everybody would always ask me, what's your channel name again? Nobody could remember it. So I was going to go with Sleeper Guy because I always built sleeper cars.
Yeah.
So I had a stock appearing Maverick down to hubcaps and all flat hood with a big block 460 with a Detroit diesel turbo on it. I drag raced.
That's awesome.
And then I had an LTD wagon with a twin turbo LS on nitrous as well. So everything looked stock, though. I mean, that car had the gauges hid behind the radio, fake radio.
So the sleeper thing was really what you were into.
I was always building sleeper cars, and I was like, well, I'll just do Sleeper Guy. But Sleeper Guy was taken, so then I did Sleeper Dude.
By some mattress guy, probably.
Right, yeah. So I was like, okay, I'll do Sleeper Dude. That wasn't taken yet. So I changed the channel name, and it was a little after that the channel took off for us.
Now, what was it about sleeper cars that intrigued you? First of all, did you ever use them to their benefit, like on street racing? Go out and sock guys for money.
Okay. So I built the Maverick. That was my first real sleeper car. And originally I'd put a 2.3 turbo out of an 88 turbo coupe in it.
Yeah.
With a turbo off a Cummins diesel and a 5-speed. And the third time I street raced it, I got busted by the police.
Yeah.
So at the time, my wife was pregnant with our first child, and I really panicked. And ever since then, I stopped street racing. It was too big of a risk after that point. But I only got a $200 fine, so I'm okay. I didn't get charged with street racing, but it really made me clean up my whole street racing act.
Yeah, and I tell you what, I say that with a smile because I encourage people to not street race, having grown up street racing.
Right, yeah, me too, yeah.
But the days, it was different. You didn't get in as bad a trouble back then. You didn't have the fast cars that they're capable of now.
Of course, yeah.
And, I really realized I was airborne in a school zone racing my Mustang against another guy's one night. Obviously, school wasn't in session, but I hit a dip. And as I looked behind me and I saw the sparks as my headers had hit the ground, I'm like, I need to stop doing this.
Yeah, yeah.
And obviously you went to the track all the time too, but it wasn't convenient.
Yeah.
And so now, especially, they're really cracking down on it here in Nashville.
For sure.
Where they'll take your car and throw you in jail.
Yeah.
So I really encourage people, to go to the track. And if there's not a track, get together with a community group and build a track. Mm-hmm. Because, we got to have an outlet for this, especially, like the track, the gymkhanas and the road course stuff. That's hot.
Yeah.
And much easier on your car.
Right. Yeah, I love like the test and tune night at the drag strip.
Yeah.
Like Friday night test and tune. I really enjoy when it's like just a laid back night where you can go and test your car out without being in a competition necessarily,
Exactly.
And having to wait 6 hours for your turn to race. You just get in line and go as many times as you want. I love that.
Yeah. Now, is there a place locally where you're at where you can race? Or?
Brainerd Motorsports Park in North Georgia area is a place we usually go. It's the first place I actually race my own vehicle at. Now, I did go to like Crossville Dragway some.
Okay.
Because I grew up in Middle Tennessee.
I
grew up in the Cookeville area. So we went to Crossville a lot when I was a kid and stuff like that. Buffalo Valley Dragway as well.
Now, do you prefer a stick or an automatic when you're drag racing?
It depends on the car.
Yeah.
Like,
if you want consistency, but there's nothing like a stick for fun.
If it's a super high horsepower car, I don't mind it being an auto because it can still be fun. But if it's a car that's, a little less powerful, I mean, you can take a 4-cylinder car with a 5-speed and be really fun.
Oh, yeah.
So I do prefer a manual if it's going to be a car that's not crazy powerful.
Yeah.
But, at some point, it breaks a lot of parts when you're making a ton of power and you have a stick shift. So most of my really high horsepower cars have been autos, but like I've got a 63 Falcon Futura with a 302 and a 5-speed T5 swapped.
I was watching you do that. I love that car.
I love it too.
And
it's
the best
great.
part about the Falcons is that crazy console. They had the best looking console.
I love the console. I actually had to buy that one because when I bought mine, I paid $562 for that car.
Really?
And then the console was missing and one front seat was missing. All the interior was shot. So the guy actually had the console in his shop and I had to buy it separately, but I got it. Yeah.
Now, are you mostly like when I see your show and stuff, it seems to be mostly engines and drivetrains and stuff like that. Now, are you a body guy? Do you do bodies? Do you build cars, things? Or
we're actually working on a body video right now.
Okay.
So we bought a 76 K15 that was parked in 1984. That's how long it's been off the road.
Yeah.
And every panel is rotted, but you can buy the panels cheap. So we got new doors, new fenders, hood, all the patch panels from Summit Racing.
Okay.
And we are patching all that up right now. So I'm doing rockers in it, floor pans. And actually, that's what I did for a living. I did auto body for 20 years professionally
really?
at a collision shop. So that's what I quit to do YouTube was auto body.
Yeah. YouTube's a lot nicer, isn't it?
I like not having a boss. That's very nice. Like setting your own schedule and not having to ask off to go on a trip somewhere is very nice. Yeah.
You know, that's the benefits of it. But I tell you what, and obviously you've done it long enough, you've gotten this figured out. The problem that most people do when they try to do YouTube and things like that is they get lazy.
Oh,
and you cannot be lazy
No.
because you don't have a boss. You have to be disciplined enough to get out there and do the job.
Oh, 100%.
Or you just lay around and eat Cheetos. And
and there's so much on the backside that I don't think a lot of people understand about, like sourcing parts and getting the next project ready and making sure every single part's here. Because if you that one part's not here, now you got to get it done. And especially on YouTube, people are expecting you to put out a video, say, every week.
Yeah.
Like, that's hard to do when you're doing projects, one after the other. You got to have parts for 2 or 3 cars backed up, ready to go ahead of time. Yeah.
No, I was going to say, how do you do that? Because every show is different. So you try to finish a vehicle every show or just deliver one,
I try to get to a happy ending in every video. It doesn't always mean that the car is finished completely, but, like a lot of cars, like if we're just getting a car that's never run in the last 30 years, we usually try to get it to the running stage and driving stage. Now, it may not even have brakes, but we drove it around the yard without brakes or whatever.
Yeah.
And then maybe in the next video, we do all the brakes and maybe we fix the gas tank because we were running just off of a can or whatever.
Yeah.
And then actually try to get it to where it's roadworthy. But usually, most of the cars we work on have been sitting a very long time.
Yeah.
So usually it takes 2 or 3 videos to get to that roadworthy, at least drive it out.
Oh, yeah,
road
and
stage.
to do it safely. And we push that very hard here, too. It's one thing to get something driving or just to get it started.
Yeah.
And that's usually when you burn your garage down.
Right. Yeah.
Because you didn't do the fuel system right.
Right.
And there's another thing to get it running and driving safely.
Oh, yeah.
And so that's really good. That was one of the things when I first started doing this because we did a how-to show.
Yeah.
The reality shows didn't even exist at that point. They were trying to push me. It's like, well, you got to finish these vehicles every show. And I'm like, that's physically impossible.
Yeah.
Like Sergeant Rock, there's 5,000 hours in that. How am I going to finish that in even a season or two? That was a 10-year build to build something like that. So, we came up with a way to where I've got some ground-up builds that take as much time as they're going to take. And people understand that are doing that. And then there's some that are easier projects that take maybe a weekend, 3 days, something like that. Yeah. And then there's things you can do in a day, like put on a tonneau cover, put on a winch, or that kind of deal.
Yeah, I think some of those car reality shows kind of ruin that. They did. They did it where you assume that a few guys can fully restore a car in a week, and that's not really true.
No.
There's a whole huge team of guys that you're not seeing in the background,
Yeah, not only that, but for example, I was with the guys when they were doing overhauling one time out at SEMA, and the guys shot the paint, and they were trying to buff it within 3 hours.
Oh, wow.
And the paint was still sticky.
Yeah.
And the painter, he was a fantastic painter, a good friend of mine. And I was looking at it. He goes, please, please, please don't judge me by this paint job. And I'm like, why would I do that? I mean, you painted it with no real decent prep. You're trying to buff this thing and it's sticky. It's like it was for the television deal. And you're right. A lot of people don't realize that everything that you see that we do, is done right.
Yeah. Well,
but it takes a while.
I always wondered that with shows like that. Like, I know as a body tech how long it takes for primer to dry and seam sealer to dry and how long you're supposed to wait before you top coat things. And it's like, there's not even enough time in the week to do all that. Like, how are you doing that? And I know that primer, the longer you let that stuff cure, you're not going to have as much sand scratch shrink up.
Absolutely. And see, any legitimate body person knows that.
Yeah.
So then they're sitting there going foul, foul, foul. And, but, that's one of the things that people need to learn with this. This is not like a cooking show. This is not like something. This takes time. It's like building a house.
My old boss at the first body shop used to say, "We're not making pancakes here, okay?"
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
No, and to do it right, and that's another thing too. There is a difference in the quality of work of a collision shop and a restoration shop.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean that one is doing it badly. They're doing it to a collision level, OEM.
Yeah.
And the other's doing it to a show level, which is totally different. Gaps are matched, all that stuff. And getting people to understand that.
Well, and a lot of people think brand new cars are perfect, and they're not.
Isn't that the truth?
Yeah, they don't check the gap before they bring it to the body shop. They check it after.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially some of those 80s cars, man, they were so bad.
Oh, yeah.
If you like cars, if you like coffee, you're gonna love Gears Coffee Cars. Because in each pack, you'll find a special blend of rich, robust coffee to get your blood pumping, as well as a collectible cartoon sticker and matching photo card of some of the wildest vehicles Stacey has built or featured over the years. Collect the whole series and be sure to keep an eye out for the ultra-rare Strange Brew card that are added to random packages to keep things interesting. It's Gears Coffee Cars, the best bean on the car scene. A successful automotive project takes planning and organization, but instead of using an old tablet or notebook, there's the Gears Deluxe Project Planning Book. This was designed to help you lay out a project, the parts, the tools, costs, and keep it organized with colored tabs, a pouch for receipts, and even a place to attach photos. If you decide to sell the vehicle, it serves as a complete history of what's been done. If you have a project or plan on starting one, the Gears Project Planning Book is the best way to lay it out and make it happen.
Okay, so we've got your experience down. So tell me about one thing I noticed in your videos and stuff. You include your family a lot.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so why is that important? Tell me about that.
Well, I mean, it's how they learn. It's how kids learn. And I think that, some guys, they have they like doing car stuff, but they don't, they're like, oh, stay in the house and I'll work on the car or whatever. But then the kids aren't learning anything. And
yeah.
I'm just, I guess maybe I'm old school, but like my kids don't have cell phones and they're not sitting there on games all day. I want them to learn hands-on things. Now,
absolutely.
I don't force them to work on the cars. Like if you've watched the channel, my youngest daughter almost doesn't work on the cars at all.
Yeah.
She has her own little art area and she does painting and stuff like that. She enjoys cleaning the car. She don't really want to build an engine though.
Yeah.
So, I think that kids have to learn hands-on skills, and if we're not going to teach them, people that have experience with it, then who is,
Absolutely. No, well said. So how does your wife feel about this? Is she a car girl or?
She was not when we first met, but I have.
You brought her over to the dark side.
Yes, and we have different things we like about cars. So when I look at a car, I'm almost only looking at the mechanical side of it. Like what engine does it have, what transmission, what suspension, what does it weigh? And she's looking at, that's a pretty car. I love that color. I love that body style. So she likes cars for different reasons than I do. But she usually doesn't like what I like. I'm a big, like the ugly Fox body cars, like Ford Fairmonts, Lincoln Mark 7s, Zephyrs. I really like those kind of cars, like the cars that don't get a lot of love.
Yeah.
But she likes the really pretty show cars.
And now, how about hot rods? Have you ever been into hot rods much? Like the 30s and 40s cars, 50s cars, that kind of thing?
I've had a few, and I had a 40 Ford Coupe that it ended up being, somebody offered me too much for it, and I flipped it quickly. Yeah. And then I had a Model T center door sedan. I don't know if you know what a center door sedan looks like.
Absolutely, yeah.
It looks like a stagecoach, basically.
Yeah.
And
Dodge did a lot of those. Yeah.
We actually went to Manchester, Tennessee, and I traded a shotgun for a room full of Model T parts. And I wish we would have been videoing. This is before we videoed everything.
Oh, that's fantastic.
So we go, it's a walk-in door.
That's a southern deal right there.
Exactly.
You throw in some of them ham hocks and we'll get some of that.
We went through a walk-in door because that was the only way to get in this room, and there is like 3 or 4 Model T frames, and we pull all these sheet metal pieces out because the early Model Ts are nailed on a wooden body structure.
Oh, yeah.
So we pull it out and we realize there's an entire car in that room that's been taken in one piece at a time. So I, as a body tech, I welded it all back together with a spot welder and MIG welder and made the car again.
Yeah.
Chopped the top and everything, Z'd the frame, channeled it, all that stuff. And then I had I had 3 kids in 3 years, and financially I just needed to sell it. So we're actually doing another Model T right now. I bought a 26 T Coupe.
Okay.
And we just put it on a Bowling Brothers chassis. It's got a 12-inch drop in the front, so the car sits, like 6 inches off the ground. And so it's channeled over the frame and everything. And we just got an old school 270 Dodge Hemi out of a junkyard, and it's at the machine shop right now.
Is that the little red Ram?
It's Super Red Ram, I think it's called. Yes.
Yeah. That's a cool little engine.
So we're planning on putting a Hemi in it. Probably a manual transmission, and making a little hot rod out of it. But my grandpa's got a Model A sedan that I got running on the channel. It's completely stock driveline though. He bought it back in the 70s, and I can't remember what he said he paid. It was like $800 or something. Oh yeah, I don't know, but it was running, driving, original car. Yeah,
but it's all original.
Yeah, completely original.
Oh boy, it's hard to keep it original, isn't it?
It is for me. It's not for him, but for me it is. Yeah. I always look at a car that's stock, and I think something needs to be changed on it.
Me too. You know? I cannot stand stock. But I have to say, now a lot of these, especially like these Model A's and stuff, they're so rare, original, that sometimes you find them and it's like, they can't be cut up.
Right.
But I'm not really that original type person.
Yeah, me neither.
Because I usually end up getting rid of something like that because it ends up being just a parade vehicle.
Right, yeah.
Or something like that. And that's not me. I want to go fast.
We tried to get it running with the stock Model T. It actually thrown a rod, and the crank had shoved the rod up against the block, and it wouldn't even turn over. And we had a spare motor, put a rod and piston in it, and it never did run. I think that it only had like 30 pounds of compression, so I think it just was wore out.
So what are your goals, with the channel and stuff like that? What are you hoping to do, man?
Well, I think as any YouTuber, first off, you want to get more views, right? That's number one. And as well, my kids are getting to the grown stage almost now. Like my oldest daughter just got her driver's license.
Dun, dun, dun.
I know, right?
Yeah.
And
she wants one of Dad's cars.
Well, she has a 71 Beetle right now.
Okay.
So we got that at a deal. We didn't doing a bunch of work to it, fixing it up. So she loves that car. But I think a lot about what will be the future of the channel, like as they get out of school and maybe they can be more involved. Because, they're going to school during the day. So, they all have their own skills. And I really would love to see them involved in the business, whether it's my youngest daughter with her art skills, maybe she could design with our T-shirt stuff or maybe paint job stuff, So I'd love to see them all involved with it, but that's their choice at the end of the day, and maybe they don't choose to do that. I don't know.
Yeah, and you're good with that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I want them to do what they love to do. Yeah,
that's important.
Yeah,
yeah. So what kind of music do you listen to when you're in the shop?
Oh man,
answer carefully.
Okay, well,
no, seriously.
The truth is, I rarely get to listen to music anymore because we can't put it in the videos because it'll get copyrighted.
Absolutely.
So the only time I get to listen is if I have headphones on or whatever. If I'm doing like a time lapse shot that takes half the day.
Yeah.
I really don't listen to a ton of music. I do more podcasts and stuff like that. I'm really big history buff.
Yeah.
But if I do listen to it, I like Chris Stapleton, even though I'm not really a big country music fan. I like Chris Stapleton, and I like a lot of the music from the 70s and 60s. I grew up listening to, going to car shows and listening to the car show top music from the 50s, 60s, 70s. So I'm not modern music for me. It's usually older stuff. Very few modern artists do I really listen to. But I do play the drums at church.
You do?
Yeah, I play the drums.
You're that guy.
Yeah, I play the drums at church. Yeah, I learned the drums at church.
You saved that to the end. Well, I play drums at church too.
Yeah. I learned them at church, and it's the only place I've ever played them. So I have a limited skill set probably on the drums. But I do play the drums. I can keep time. But I'm no rock and roll band artist for sure.
Well, that's awesome. That's actually talking about church. So let's talk about faith a little bit. So you grew up in a Christian family or Christian church
yes.
still?
Yep.
How important is that?
Oh, it's super important to me. I grew up. My dad. We went to church. Every time the doors were open. And
what kind of church? Baptist.
Baptist. Yep.
Okay.
But yeah,
you just
super
had
important.
that Baptist thing.
Oh, well, thank you. Someone told me one time there's more Baptists than people. But yeah, actually, my father-in-law is a pastor. Like I said, I play the drums at church. My wife, she used to play the piano at church, and she sings now. My daughter plays the piano at times at church.
Nice.
So yeah, faith is a big thing to us. We try not to, on our channel, push it down people's throat necessarily. No. But I think if you watch our channel, you'll know that we're Christians and that we try to live our, best life to be a good influence on others.
Well, the way you treat other people and the way that you treat each other and stuff is huge. And the way that you treat the industry and that kind of thing, it definitely is telling.
So when did you get started in your car TV universe?
I started doing trucks in '98. So, and it was the first, up until that time, there were only a couple of shows out, and they were mostly like mechanic type things, like, wasn't Crank and Chrome at the time, it was Sam and Dave.
They're Shape Tree Mechanics.
Shape Tree Mechanic. Mm-hmm. And, so when I had a chance to do trucks, it was the guy at RTM that was putting it together, Joe, he said, listen, we want you to do what you want to do.
Yeah.
And there was nobody that was doing any sort of aftermarket customizing stuff. Yeah. So I was the first one that did that. Mm-hmm. And man, there was got a lot of pushback at first because I was told, not from the viewers. I mean, viewers loved it.
Yeah.
So the ratings went sky high. But I was told by everybody in the industry, the TV world, you can't do that. You can't show bloody hands. You can't show this. At first I did it with another guy, and it was kind of hey, Joe, what do you think? I don't know, Bob. What do you.
Yeah.
When I started doing it by myself, I was able to really push it. And the thing that was always very important was that the work had to be real. I was doing the work. There was no stunt wrenches that came in, which we laughed about that. Mm-hmm. A lot of the shows, they have what we call stunt wrenches, where they shut down the cameras and then people come in and do the work. Yeah, and then the other person comes in and goes, hey, I just welded this up. And it's like, oh, no, you didn't.
Well, and if you got a good eye, I know used to a lot of shows, they would say, oh, the car's done. We got just in time at the end of our deadline. And then you would notice when it shows the car out on the track the next day, all this stuff's done. You're like, wait, that car didn't have that on it when the show ended. What happened?
The paint's different. Yeah. The suspension's all dialed in. Yeah, that was 6 months before they shot that payoff. Mm-hmm. And car guys aren't stupid.
Yeah.
We pick up on that stuff. I can tell by the way a guy holds a wrench if he knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
So it was always very important to keep everything authentic and keep it real. And, then the whole reality show thing came out. It really started with Monster Garage. Mm-hmm. And,
remember Boyd Coddington's show? Yeah. Was that American Hot Rod?
American Hot Rod.
Yeah, I remember that.
And this and that. Mm-hmm. And the unfortunate thing, and this is what I caution everybody that tries to do any kind of a TV show or a podcast or a YouTube or anything like that, people want to see real. Don't fake it, and show them, something that they want to see, but don't play the game of the reality show thing.
Yeah, they ruined it,
And, well, they started creating these characters and doing
fake
stupid
drama,
stuff. Yeah. And nobody wants to see that.
And I think when it first came out, people didn't realize that. They're like, but after time, you pick up on, wait, this doesn't make any sense. This is just, I think people picked up on it was fake drama. And they don't like shows like that. Like a lot of those shows, when I used to watch some of them, I'd skip through the part where they're going back and forth. It's like, okay, let me just get to the racing part or whatever,
And even that was buttered up because a lot of the guys that were producing these were guys like right out of L.A. that were not car guys.
Yeah.
And they were adamant about it. I had a meeting with Discovery out at SEMA. This was years ago, and I was already doing stuff. And the guy from Discovery came up to me, and he goes, we don't understand how your show outrates all of our $1 million productions.
It's real.
And then he said, we don't understand this industry. And he's pointing at SEMA.
Yeah.
He goes, we don't get what this is. And I'm like, why are you here?
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And, they weren't much longer. But see, they came in, they smelled money.
Yeah.
And they're like, okay, we're going to, and this is the way that the mentality of the television production companies are. They see a way to make money.
Yeah.
A person they can exploit. The music industry works the same way. Mm-hmm. And then, they do it, and then they discard you when they're done.
Yeah.
And you don't want to be that person. Okay, so how do people find you? If they want to check out Sleeper Dude, what do they do?
The best way to find me is just go to YouTube and type in Sleeper Dude. We're actually Sleeper Dude 88 on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. But YouTube is our main gig.
Any new projects coming up you can share with me?
Well, I have a blue and white Grabber Maverick. And
okay, now I love Mavericks. So what year Maverick are you doing?
This one, I believe, is a 73. I think it's the same as my
okay,
first.
That's the last year of the little bumpers, right?
It has little bumper on the back, like medium bumper on the front. They started doing the front bumper. So if you put a small front bumper on it, it looks like a 71 or 2 or whatever.
Yeah.
But it had a 250 inline 6, and sadly, it wasn't salvageable. So I bought a F-150 that has a 300 inline 6, and I'm planning on putting that motor down in that car and doing some sort of drag racing with it is the plan right now.
That's cool.
Something for my oldest daughter to mess with, yeah.
The Mavericks and the Vegas were hot when I was a kid.
Yeah, I love them, yeah.
Yeah, they fit a V8 real nice.
Yeah, that was the car that built our channel was a Maverick. I love that car. I still stay in touch with the guy today. This guy, it's in Kentucky. He races at Bowling Green with it, yeah.
They're hard to find now that aren't all rusted out.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Anything else? Any other projects you got coming up? Gonna build that Corvette for your wife?
My son's got a Corvette. He's been working on it lately, but we got this Model T project we're gonna work on. Hopefully, I'll hear from the machine shop on it this week. I'm hoping, and maybe it won't be too expensive to rebuild. I know it's hard to find parts for those early Hemis, and I'm excited about it. I've always wanted an early car like that, and never had one that drove. So,
talk to Bob at Hotheads.
That's what I've heard, yes.
Okay, yeah. He really knows his stuff, and he kind of is. I mean, he's got pretty much everything. It's mostly Chryslers.
Yes.
But he's got stuff for the DeSotos and the Red Rams and stuff.
And I didn't realize till I tore this motor down. I thought they were all on the same basic platform and parts would interchange, but they really don't. Yeah. It's crazy. I don't know why they did it that way.
No, they were all different. The Chryslers and some of the DeSotos are more interchangeable, but then you'll get something that's like, what the heck?
Yeah.
But the Red Ram's a totally different animal.
Yeah.
But they're sure cool.
Oh, yeah. It looks awesome. I'm really excited about it. I wish there was more aftermarket support for that type of engine, But I think I can send the cam off and get it reground and stuff and make something that sounds and looks good and performs pretty good.
Yeah, that'll be awesome. Well, Josh, thanks for coming by. You're welcome anytime.
Well, thank you very much. I enjoyed it. It's a beautiful shop here.
All right. Thank you.
All right, that's our show for today, which means you need to get out there and start working on something. Spend some time turning wrenches. You might be surprised how much you like it. Make sure you check out our website, StaceyDavid.com, because we've got all kinds of new products and some other great stuff that you're just going to love. Also, make sure to check out our social media. That's Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, YouTube, all at Official Stacey David. Our social media is where you're going to find all of the bonus content, the giveaways, the contests, the trivia. We even have extra viewer projects that focus on what you are working on. Also, the new season of Gears will be on MAV TV, and YouTube will be the place that you can view all of your favorite Gears episodes, as well as the full project builds that follow the project from beginning to end. Make sure to check out our new Gears coffee cars. This is a unique blend of coffee and cool stickers to collect that will appeal to anyone.
But the most important thing is get out there and turn some wrenches yourself. Get a project, start working on it, and if you don't have tools, check out Cornwell. They can help you out there.
All right, that's all the announcements. We're all up to date. We'll see you next time.